Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single...
As a result of last month's presidential election in favor of Donald Trump, it didn't take long for him to nominate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to head the Department of Health and Human Services. In the last couple of days, RFK Jr. announced his intent to place restrictions on soft drink companies from utilizing high-fructose corn syrup and for them to start using cane sugar instead. Is there a real health benefit to making the switch? Also, why did companies like Coca-Cola and Pepsi make the switch to high-fructose corn syrup? Welcome to the Workout Nerdout. I'm Julio Lopez. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist with over 9 years of experience in personal training. Also, I have my master's degree in nutrition. Going into Twitter and reading the debates between casual health enthusiasts, dietitians, and practicing doctors, it's evident that people feel quite strongly about the topic. While this certainly stems from political ideology, I'll be doing my best to stick with the facts. Believe it or not, high-fructose corn syrup has been around for almost 70 years, having been invented by Richard Marshall and Earl Coy to serve as an alternative to conventional cane sugar. To make high-fructose corn syrup, the enzyme xylose isomerase, aka glucose isomerase, is introduced to the glucose from corn starch to convert it into fructose. Much like table sugar, aka sucrose, both are disaccharides, meaning cane sugar and high-fructose corn syrup are a combination of two types of sugars, fructose and glucose. Although high-fructose corn syrup was developed to serve as an alternative for cane sugar, it took some time for it to be widely used by food companies. The main reason why companies continued using cane sugar was simply because of cost. Even though high-fructose corn syrup was slightly sweeter, it was still cheaper to use sugar. So not that many companies made the switch automatically. Nevertheless, consumers started seeing a slight increase in products using high-fructose corn syrup in the 1970s. The biggest reason behind the widespread use of high-fructose corn syrup is two-pronged. First, you had the Reagan administration in 1982 imposing harsh tariffs on imported sugar, which increased the price of sugar and led companies to seek alternative sweeteners at a lower cost. Second, increasing government subsidies to farmers, particularly for those growing corn. Food manufacturers understood that raising prices of their products would hurt sales, so they started using high-fructose corn syrup. And with corn farmers receiving funds from the government, it allowed those farmers to reduce the price of their corn, thus making high-fructose corn syrup much cheaper than it was in the decades prior. Sweet beverage companies, such as those producing sodas and juice drinks, were among the first to widely make the switch from cane sugar to high-fructose corn syrup. While tariffs on imported sugar and government subsidies towards corn farmers made high-fructose corn syrup the cheaper option, since high-fructose corn syrup comes naturally in a liquid state, this meant that it maintains consistency in sweetened beverages and doesn't break down as easily as cane sugar, thus providing consumers the same taste at a lower cost to the companies. Use of high-fructose corn syrup peaked in the late 90s and early 2000s, but it still remains the most common sweetener in a lot of widely produced beverages. As mentioned earlier, Health and Human Services nominee Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is proposing a plan to push sweet beverage manufacturers to stop using high-fructose corn syrup and to go back to using cane sugar, just as most of them did before Ronald Reagan's administration in the 1980s. In RFK Jr.'s push to make America healthy again, he's citing the studies linking high-fructose corn syrup to increasing impaired glucose tolerance and eventually type 2 diabetes. People that drink excessive amounts of sweetened beverages are often unaware of the health risks related to type 2 diabetes. What happens is that the glucose tolerance becomes impaired. It also affects the way one's body secretes insulin, resulting in high blood sugar, which can damage blood vessels and blood, increase the risk of heart attack, negatively affect hearing, cause numbness and pain, and even lead to vision loss. The thing about diabetes is that it's a chronic disease, meaning that the process of developing the disease is a slow process, oftentimes leading one to overlook many of the symptoms and warning signs. Did the shift from cane sugar to high-fructose corn syrup cause more people to have diabetes or become overweight or obese? Not necessarily. It's more the amount of consumption that's linked to the increased risk of chronic illness, obesity, or death, which means that you can still enjoy the occasional soda at the ballgame, but drinking an entire super big gulp at the office each day, the result is going to be vastly different. Since high-fructose corn syrup doesn't come naturally in the same manner as cane sugar, does this mean that it increases risk of chronic illnesses like cancer or diabetes? Does the fact that high-fructose corn syrup is artificial change the way that your body processes it compared to sugar? In short, Sugar is sugar. Even though enzymes are used to produce high fructose corn syrup, it's the amount of sugar, regardless of whether it's coming from high fructose corn syrup or cane sugar, that one consumes that affects the likelihood of such diet-related chronic illnesses. In other words, if you just drink 1 or 2 sodas a week, you're going to be totally okay regardless of what sweetener is in it. In short, moderation is key. In conclusion, high fructose corn syrup has been a topic of concern for several years. Not only is there solid evidence of its contributions to diet-related chronic illnesses and conditions, but the fact that it's artificially produced that has many people worried. The fundamental truth about high fructose corn syrup versus cane sugar is that both are equally just as bad for your health. So having soda manufacturers make a permanent switch from high fructose corn syrup to cane sugar, things like obesity, cancer, and diabetes are going to remain the same unless individuals reduce their consumption. So that does it for today's Workout Nerdout. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, if you know anyone who can benefit from this information, please share it with them. Until next time, I'll see you on the next Workout Nerdout.